Okay, so the title of my story is Emalaya and the Pike, and I'm not really sure where it's set. Okay, so here's it. Once upon a time, there was a lazy guy named Emalaya. Now, Emalaya lived with all of his brothers. Now, all of his brothers were married, except for Emalaya. So, pretty crowded house. So, every day, Emalaya's brothers used to go to the market and, get food, water, basically anything they needed. Emalaya, he would just stay at home, lie down in his bed, do nothing. So, one day, Emalaya's sister-in-law got fed up with him and said, "Emalaya, you don't do anything. You need to, go do something." So then Emalaya said, "Excuse me?" So then Emalaya's sister-in-law said, "I don't know, go get some water from the frozen lake." Emalaya said, "I don't want to. Why can't you go?" So then Emalaya's sister said, "But your brothers won't get you any presents." So then Emalaya said, "Well, yeah." Okay, I'll go. So Emalaya took his axe, put it in his belt, went to the frozen lake. When he got there, he kneeled down and cut a hole in the water. So, and filled his buckets with water. Now, as he turned around to leave, he saw a fish swimming around. So he said, "We'll have fish soup for dinner tonight." So he got ready and grabbed the fish. So he got his axe and he was about to chop its head off. But then the fish said, "No, wait, please spare me." And Emalaya said, "How are you talking to me? And why should I spare you? You're just a fish." So the fish said, "No, please, if you spare me, I'll give you unlimited wishes." So then Emalaya said, "How will you do that? You're just a normal fish." So the fish said, "No, whenever you want, just say, 'By will of the pike, do as I like,' and then any of your wishes will come true." So then Emalaya said, "Okay." He saw the pails, and he said, "By will of the pike, do as I like. Pails of water, throw in warehouse." So the pails came to life, and they hopped up the hill to their house. So then Emalaya said, "Whoa, okay, thanks." Put the fish back in the water, put his axe in his belt, then went home. The next day, Emalaya's sister-in-law said, "Emalaya, go cut some wood." Then Emalaya said, "Oh, why can't you go?" Then Emalaya's sister-in-law said, "Your brothers won't get you any presents." Then Emalaya said, "Oh, presents, okay, I'll go." So then, he didn't leave the house. He just said, "By will of the pike, do as I like. Axe, go cut some wood and get it here." So he went back, and the axe went out the door, and a few minutes later, came back with heaps of wood behind him. So then Emalaya said, and went back to sleep. Now, the next day, Emalaya's sister-in-law said, "Emalaya, we're all out of wood. We need you to go cut some more." And Emalaya said, "I don't want to." And then Emalaya's sister-in-law said,
You better go. Your brothers want you to get any presents
from the market."
So then Emalaya said, "Fine." So he got out his sled, sat on it, and said, "By will of the pike, do as I like. Sled, take me to the forest." So the sled zipped out and went to the forest. But to go to the forest, Emalaya had to go through the village. Now, there were just some people, casually walking around on the road, So Emalaya all of a sudden just came out of nowhere and started running over people. They didn't see him, so he was just walking around and sled! And they got knocked out. So Emalaya, not caring, just went through and went to the forest. So anyway, when he found a tree, he took his axe, and then when the tree fell, he cut it again, and then there was some wood in front of him. So he said, "By will of the pike, do as I like. Make me a club so strong, that it can knock out even the strongest men. So all the wood came together and made a massive club that Emalaya could barely carry. Now Emalaya wanted to walk home. So he sent his sled home and took his dragging it along. Now when he got to the village, there were many strong men around him. He said, "Emalaya, why did you run over a lot of our people?" Said Emalaya said, "Why did they get in the way of my sled, huh?" So then the strong man said, "Emalaya, we will not kill you for what you have done, for you have killed many of our loved ones." So Emalaya said, "By will of the pike, do as I like. Club, give these men a beating." So he turned back, and the club sprang to life, and whacked all those men in the head. So Emalaya, smiling, took his bow and went home. The next day, an officer from the king came to his house and knocked on the door. "Emalaya? Emalaya, open up!" So Emalaya opened the door. "Who are you? What do you want?" Said the officer said, "I am an officer from the king. The king would like you to come to his palace." Then Emalaya said, "Why should I come? What if I don't want to?" So then the officer got mad and slapped Emalaya across the face. So Emalaya said, "By will of the pike, do as I like. Club, give this man a little beating." So the club sprang to life again and whacked the officer on the head. So then half done, the officer came to the sister-in-law and said, "Excuse me, how may I get Emalaya to come to the king's palace?" So then the sister-in-law said, "You know, all you need to do is just tell Emalaya that he'll get a new pair of boots as a gift." So then the officer said, "Huh? Yeah, boots. I got that." So then he went back to Emalaya and said, "Emalaya?" Then Emalaya said, "What now?" So the officer said, "If you come to the palace, the king will give you a brand new pair of boots." So Emalaya said, "Oh, boots. Okay, you go." So then the officer said, "Yeah." So he got on his horse and rode away. Now Emalaya, still in the house, was looking around. Aha! So he took his stove, sat on it, and said, "By will of the pike, do as I like. Stove, take me to the king's palace." So the stove flew up in the air and went to the king's palace. Now the king was, looking out his window. What is that? And the officer, still stunned, said, "That is Emalaya." So then a few minutes later, Emalaya came crashing through the window. And after dusting himself off, he said to the king, "What?" So then the king said, "How dare you talk to me like that?" So then Emalaya opened his mouth to talk, but before he could, the king said, "Doesn't matter. Anyway, I've gotten many complaints about you. It seems that you run over many people with your sled." Emalaya said, "Why did they come in the way of my sled?" The king said, "Oh my God. Okay, just go home." Then Emalaya went home. But then as he was leaving, he saw the princess, and the princess was a very beautiful woman. So he said, "By will of the pike, do as I like. Make the princess fall in love with me." So took his stove and flew home. But meanwhile, the princess was crying out her eyes out and saying, "Emalaya." So then the next day, another officer from the king came, said, "Emalaya, king, princess fall in love with you. Come on." Then Emalaya said, "Hey, I knew it." So then he went behind the officer to the king's palace. As soon as they got to the king's palace, before Emalaya could know what was happening, 30 officers jumped out of nowhere and knocked Emalaya out. So they put the princess and his body into a barrel, closed it, and threw it off into the ocean. Now, when Emalaya woke up, all scrunched up in the barrel, I said, "Where are we?" And then the princess said,
"Oh, Emalaya, we're in a barrel in the middle of the ocean. The usual."
So then Emalaya said, okay. By will of the pike, do as I like. Wind, blow us to a beach. So then the winds came to light and blew the barrel onto a beach. So then when they got out, the princess said,
Emalaya, we're going to need a pretty big castle if you want to live with me.
and Emalaya said, okay. By will of the pike, do as I like. Make a palace of stone and a roof of gold be made before me. So smiling, Emalaya saw stones and rocks from everywhere coming. And then suddenly, a huge roof of gold came from the sky and landed on top of the castle. So then Emalaya said, so he and the princess walked in. Now, a few weeks later, the king had come hunting on his horse. He said, officer, what is that? So the officer said, I don't know, sir. So then the king said, I must know the owner of this palace. Please send him here. And the officer came and knocked on the door. So then Emalaya opened the door. And then the officer said, look, the king is calling you. He just wanted to see who the owner of this castle was. So then Emalaya said, okay. So he went over, and then the king saw him. Emalaya! And then Emalaya said, yeah, that's right. It's me. Then the king said, hi. So then Emalaya said, you know, you threw me into a barrel, into the ocean. So for what you have done, I will kill you. But the king immediately fell to his knees and said, oh, Emalaya, please spare me. I will give you anything. I will even give you my whole kingdom. Please spare me. So then Emalaya said, your whole kingdom, eh? And the king said, yes, please, your whole kingdom. So then Emalaya took his kingdom, and then they all lived happily ever after. Well, except for the king. The end.